What is going on, true crime fans? I'm your host, Heath.
And I'm your host, Daphne.
And you're listening to Going West.
All right, guys, today's episode is a little bit unique for Going West because we don't usually cover survivor stories, as you guys know, but Heath and I were so captivated by this woman's resilience just as this news has been breaking. This is kind of a happening now. It happened a couple years ago, but the sentencing just happened, not to spoil anything. And so it's been hitting the news, and that's why Heath and I learned about it. So a lot of you guys have probably been hearing about this story, but this woman, she has done, aside from what happened to her, she has done some truly amazing work. She has worked on so many movies that I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen, and we are just like in awe of, again, her resilience from what she has been through.
Yeah, she really is like this real life superwoman.
Yeah,
when we talk about her story and everything that she went through, and just her recovery, I think is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, and maybe one of the most incredible things we've ever talked about on this show.
Yeah, she's like a real life final girl.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, without further ado, this is episode 622 of Going West, so let's get into it.
in May of 2024, a 35-year-old Hollywood makeup artist was attacked in her home with a knife. Suffering injuries so severe, she was declared clinically dead twice. As investigators raced to find the person responsible, they quickly uncovered a series of events that had unfolded in the days leading up to the attack, showcasing the horrors behind one man's abuse and control. This is the incredible story of Allie Shehorn. Allie Shehorn was born in 1988 in Bakersfield, California, and is described by her friend Emily as, quote, a remarkable person full of warmth, kindness, and love. She loves animals. She has a husky named Riley and a horse named Roy, who she loves to ride. But she also is so clearly full of passion, particularly for art, which is something that she grew up exploring. And originally, she wanted to become a fine artist. So after high school, she attended art school and studied sculpture and painting. But it was there, actually at school, that she encountered a film production on campus. Like, people were filming on her campus. So she kind of like checked it out and started talking to people. And she learned about how much she admired the collaborative effort of filmmaking versus the solitude of fine art. Like, you draw and you paint by yourself.
Right. Yeah.
But when you work on a film production, you're working with so many people. Like, everyone is contributing something. And she thought, she was like so inspired by that.
And also, she lives in Southern California. So it's pretty easy to be inspired by film.
No, true. When you grow up like in Los Angeles or around Los Angeles, you see that firsthand quite often.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's so second nature to want to be involved in that. So then she decided to enroll in cinema makeup school in Hollywood and began learning the ins and outs of on-screen makeup and special effects. And this was obviously such a fun thing for her to get into because although she loved drawing and painting, she really loved getting to explore prosthetics and life casting and creature work and work on horror movies, making wounds and body parts. Like she said in an interview years back with Lunacy, quote, bloody, gory stuff.
Which is literally my dream.
I know.
That's my dream. Like,
we talked about that a long time ago.
Yeah,
you said
we did.
You want to do that maybe.
Did you ever watch the show Face Off?
Oh, yeah.
Where they did like horror prosthetics and stuff like that.
Totally.
Horror makeup.
So fun.
That's what it reminds me of. But obviously I'm a big horror guy. I love Tom Savini, who does a lot of really cool practical effects for horror movies. So I just think it's so cool that she's involved in something like this.
I know, I agree. It's so easy for her to fall into, especially as an artist. And she's such a cool horror girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so her, and she loved getting to be involved in all that kind of different artwork. So by the early 2020s, she had accumulated over 100 credits in film and television. And in recent years, Allie worked on notable films like Babylon, Fall, the 2024 Mean Girls remake, Rebel Moon, and most recently, Obsession, which incredible movie. Love Obsession so much.
So good. Curry
I know,
Barker.
it's really cool because she she posted on her Instagram, for anybody who has seen it, that scene where Nikki breaks the bottle on the table and she's like going at her face with the end of the bottle.
Yeah.
Actually, Allie posted kind of the behind the scenes of making that work with
So
like
cool.
a tube on her forehead and under her eye.
Yeah,
and like her
squirting the blood out and stuff.
So she posts a lot of cool things like that on her Instagram, just kind of showing the work that she does. So yeah, so cool to see the behind the scenes for that movie because it was incredible. So she's worked on so many fun projects in recent years, but little did many know while she was making some of these huge career moves that she was dealing with real horrors behind the scenes. Because something she loves about her job in film that she still loves is that it's always different. You know, she always gets to meet new people, work with different people.
Yeah.
Like even our friends and family that work in film, like they love that about the industry.
Yeah,
It's
so many
just-
different people to meet
Yeah.
and kind of like network with.
Yes, it's like ever changing, which unfortunately though brought her to meet a very evil person. So in 2022, 34-year-old Allie was working on Zack Snyder's Netflix sci-fi action movie Rebel Moon Part 1, of course, as a makeup artist. And that's where she met 33-year-old background actor Nicholas Pasquale. And soon enough, they became involved in like a casual romantic relationship. Now, we really want to highlight Allie today, but just so you guys like know who this guy is.
Yeah, you don't really need to know.
You don't
or maybe
need to
even
know.
want to know who this
But
piece of shit is. But
Just to give you like a little bit of background on him, unfortunately. He was born in 1990 in Pennsylvania, but when he was about 15, his family moved to Los Angeles. And soon after, in 2008, he started working as a background actor. Now, for anybody who has heard about this story, you probably know, like in the media, he is most often credited for his very, very minor role in the show How I Met Your Mother during an episode in season 7.
very minor.
Very minor, playing a character named Will, who was one of Ted Mosby's architecture students, because that is the most notable credit he has among his 30 background acting credits. But when he wasn't really succeeding on making it as an actor, like many actors do, he was looking for other types of work. But he was trying to still stay like in the same lane of acting.
Right, the same vein. Kinda.
Right. So he actually started working as a scare actor at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios Hollywood. And he did that from 2008 to 2013. So obviously, most of us know what a scare actor is. He's the guy who's in the mazes
like carrying around a chainsaw, chasing you around the park.
Yes,
like
or
those guys.
which is weirdly ironic for where this story is going to go. Actually, I think the first time I went to Horror Nights was in 2012. So he was working there for many years.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so disturbing to think about the fact that this guy who actually did become like a real life monster was a fake monster for so many years,
Yeah.
scaring people in a different way. It's so bizarre,
It is very bizarre. Well,
like weirdly prophetic.
yeah, absolutely. Well, Allie and Nick began hanging out and then dating after late 2022, and their relationship became serious enough that they lived together for a time in Sun Valley. Now, for those who don't know, Sun Valley is like a neighborhood in Los Angeles. It's just northwest of Burbank, which of course is where Warner Brothers is. It's where Walt Disney is, Cartoon Network, and Nickelodeon Studios. They're all in the Burbank area. And they also shared this home with a roommate who's a woman named Christine. Now, reports don't indicate how long they lived with Christine because a friend later suggested that this friend of Allie's only moved in when things got tough in her relationship with Nick. Because pretty quickly, Allie realized Nick's abusive and controlling ways. But things really escalated in the spring of 2024, and it would only get worse from there. On Saturday, May 18th, 2024, Nick attacked Allie in their home, which would cause her to seek a restraining order against him. Now, in the restraining order report, Allie explained, quote, "He started yelling and screaming at me, which happens when he's been under the influence." She then went on to detail that Nick slapped her across the face as she was trying to get away from him and pulled her hair from behind before slamming the back of her head onto the floor, which is just like, obviously this guy is just an abusive monster. So this is when she ran to her roommate's bedroom, who it doesn't appear was home at the time, but Nick tried to break down the door, which he had done twice before. Twice. Nick had broken doors down, which tells us, that this type of abuse towards Allie had been ongoing. This was a thing that was happening quite often. Allie explained that he began punching holes in the door and broke it open, so she ran into the room's bathroom so that she could be behind another lock. But that eventually, after he remained quiet for some time, she opened the door believing that he had left. She's hoping that Nick is gone. But he was still there. Thus, he slammed the door into her, knocking her to the ground, and then proceeded to slam the door into her head. Then Allie says Nick raped her. So after this entire confrontation of her running away, terrified that he's going to abuse her, as soon as he gets his hands on her, he rapes her.
The fact that he was almost probably trying to coax her out by being quiet, the thought of him,
oh my God,
maybe hiding behind a wall, staying silent as a mouse, trying to coax her out, and then after a while she's like, okay, I think he's gone, and he's just waiting for her.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's so terrifying.
That's the mind of a psychopath. This was all pre-planned, it feels like you said, he's trying to be as quiet as possible so that she believes that he's gone.
It's so manipulative.
Yeah. Well, in her report, Allie included details from past attacks as well, including Nick hitting her with a belt on January 29th of 2024, and several other attempts of breaking doors in their home on March 6th, and then another incident where Nick raped and choked her on April 14th. She said, quote, "He has been violent in the past, but never physically with me apart from 2 nights where he ripped clothes off of me." Nick probably made her feel like he was a safe person, like he was trustworthy and all those things. And then little by little, Nick is kind of revealing himself. So first it started with him ripping the clothes off. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then it progressed to physical violence.
Yeah, I mean, we are really seeing that real life escalation.
Oh yeah, and it's going to escalate even more. Now, after Allie was attacked by Nick on May 18th, he was actually arrested, but he was released on a $50,000 bail only hours later. Insane. So they didn't even keep him.
I mean, the fact that he could have posted bond to begin with is so disappointing. This is clearly a dangerous person.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it is what it is, and the fact that he was able to post that is disappointing. I wonder how he did. I mean, you only have to give 10% of that, so.
I just think that there needs to be more consequences, I think, for domestic abusers, on the initial thing, because it's somehow they get these slaps on the wrist, and it's it does progress and it gets worse, and nothing happens.
So immediately, Allie filed for a restraining order, which as of Monday, May 20th, included that Nick would need to stay at least 300 feet away from her, their residence, any jobs that she worked on, her car, her husky dog Riley, and her roommate Christine. And by the way, I just want to kind of explain this. Most reports describe Christine as Allie's surrogate mother. I'm not really sure if she actually is her surrogate mother or if this is more of a slang term for Christine being maybe a second mom to her.
Yeah.
But I will say Allie's friend Jed explained on Facebook, quote, "She is like an adopted mom who cares a lot about Allie."
Right. So kind of like a parental figure for Allie.
Yeah, and she's a little bit, I don't know how old she is, but from pictures, she's a little bit older than Allie, so it's very possible that she was actually a surrogate mother and was a mother figure to Allie, who lived in LA, and they're very close. So she was the one who was living at the house. Now, he also added that Christine was living there to protect Allie. So Christine maybe was more of a recent addition to the house. Maybe she only was living there because of the abuse that Allie was experiencing. I'm just not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of in my mind where, that's what I think was going on is that, Allie was on the outs with Nick, and she's like, "Hey, Christine, do you want to move in?" Not only to just be there as each other's confidants, but as well as maybe transitioning Nick out of the house.
Totally.
Moving Christine in.
Well, especially because of that escalation of abuse that seems to have started in January of 2024. Mm-hmm. And now it's May, and it's really escalated to the point where she's getting a restraining order. She probably saw this coming where she's like, I need to get out of this situation.
Yeah, time to get this fucking guy out of the house.
Well, on Nick, Jed added, quote, "He is not the fully tattooed guy. And if you had met him, you would not have known he was capable of this. I knew him firsthand for 2 years and was and still am in shock that this happened. This person was a part of a lot of people's lives and seemed stable. I was there from the beginning when they met on the film set of Rebel Moon, to many dinners and outings, to when he asked her out and so on. This came as a surprise to me and others who were close to Allie and him. What makes this statement so haunting, like in hindsight, is that it reflects on the reality that so many survivors and their loved ones have to deal with when on the outside, at least originally for a lot of people, not always, there are some cases that we cover where the parents are like, he was a freak from day one, like I've never liked him. But sometimes it's like, he seemed like a stable, normal guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you see, we do see that often because, like I said, it's like Nick is kind of revealing himself over time. He didn't originally start out being, that's who he really is.
Right.
And
this is the real
This
Nick.
is the real Nick, but he was wearing a mask at first.
Totally.
And it's so sad because Allie just had no idea.
Yeah, and neither did her loved ones. He was
apparently not even
integrated.
Jed,
No, not even Jed. And Jed is really close with Allie. He posts so much about him visiting her on her healing journey, as we're very much going to get into. But yeah, this was a shock to everybody. And truly, of course, as we're saying, Allie Shehorn did everything you're told to do as a victim. She sought help. She left the relationship. She reported abuse. She involved law enforcement. She obtained a domestic violence restraining order. She took legal steps to protect herself and the ones around her, her dog and Christine, and her home and her car and her workplace. But as many of us know, one of the most dangerous periods in an abusive relationship is often the moment a victim tries to leave, as we've seen in so many other cases that we've covered on the show that have really tragic endings.
Yes, and unfortunately, a restraining order is, at the end of the day, it's a piece of paper.
No, truly. In the days after she obtained this court protection then, while trying to reclaim safety and her future, Allie entered the period that experts recognize as the highest risk stage of domestic violence, which really serves as this sobering reminder, like you're saying, Heath, that even though obtaining a restraining order and reporting abuse is like a necessary tool, at the end of the day, it's not a physical shield.
Yeah, and that's what that's what they tell you need to do.
Yeah.
Is you should, you start with that, you get the restraining order. But it's like we've talked about this before about how we've talked about this in stalking cases about how it wasn't even illegal to stalk somebody up until the fucking 80s or something, right?
Yeah, the laws on stalking are so disgustingly lax.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. And it is so disappointing that it is true that you're entering the most dangerous phase when you're trying to do the right things and when you think you're trying to protect yourself, which you absolutely should do those things. But this is exactly what happened to Allie.
Yeah, because just 5 days after her May 18th attack, Nick would strike again. Now, by this point, he was out of the house, he was staying elsewhere, meaning that Allie was living in her own home in Sun Valley with her surrogate mother, Christine, and her dog. Aside from the traumatizing things going on in her personal life, Allie was also about to begin working on a set doing makeup for a short indie horror film. So, she was keeping herself busy with work and just really trying to move forward from this relationship with Nick. But in the early morning hours of Monday, May 23rd, the day that she was supposed to begin working on this new job, sometime between 4 and 4:30 a.m., 34-year-old Nick broke into her house and attacked her with an 8-inch kitchen knife. As she slept, Allie awoke exhausted and in great pain as Nick struck her in the neck, chest, back, and hands more than 30 fucking times. So startled and disoriented, Allie initially couldn't understand, what was happening. She's just waking up at this. But in the darkness, she realized that the person attacking her was Nick. The same man that she had spent over a year with. The same man that she had recently gone to court to protect herself from. Attacking her in her safe space, her own home. So fighting for her life, she raised her hands in an attempt to shield herself, suffering severe defensive wounds in the process. So she was just being repeatedly stabbed all over the place, and especially in her hands because she's really trying to protect her face, her neck, and everything like that.
Just the fact that she's waking up to this, doesn't even know what's happening to her, and has to figure it out while it's happening more.
Yeah. terrifying moment. You're tired. You really don't know what's going on. It's dark. And then all of a sudden you see Nick's face, hovering over you. Well, soon after, her roommate Christine went into Allie's room to find her in a pool of her own blood, still alive. She later reported, quote, "I just told her to keep her hand on her throat to stop the bleeding." Allie was rushed to the hospital to undergo emergency surgery and remained in the ICU for several days, fighting for her life. And later that morning, others working on set of the short film that she was supposed to begin working on that day noticed her absence, which those who knew her on set noted was completely unlike her. This is just something that she wouldn't do. She wouldn't miss like a great opportunity. But little did they know, she was in the hospital in critical condition. Meanwhile, Nick Pasquale had fled the area. And guess where they found him? Can you take a guess? Do you know?
I know.
No, you know.
You tell him.
So he was actually trying to cross the border into Mexico.
Because of course he was.
Yeah. He knew that he was going to go down for this, and so he was trying to make his great escape. Now, because police knew that he had committed the act, they obtained an arrest warrant for Nick, and with that, his name was entered into national law enforcement databases. So this essentially flagged his name, and thus, after traveling to Sierra Blanca, which is in Texas, about a 13-hour drive from Los Angeles, he was detained at the border checkpoint as he attempted to enter Mexico, only 5 days after trying to kill Allie. This was on Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. Now, by that point, Allie, who was 35, was in very stable condition. She was getting a ton of visits from friends, but she was in the hospital for weeks and continued to go in for surgeries and checkups throughout the rest of the year. Her friend Emily stated, quote, "She's been in really good spirits. I feel like she's comforting all of us," which is kind of how Allie is. Even when she's at rock bottom, she's still looking to see how she can lift other people up.
And her friends were so proud of her. This is where the Jed thing comes in. Like, all of her closest friends were visiting her at the hospital, and they set up a GoFundMe for her because not only did she have to go through this and have to go through all the surgeries to fix what was done to her, she has to pay for it.
Yeah.
So they set up this GoFundMe, and they raised over like $100,000 for her. And so they were putting all these updates on the GoFundMe of like how she was doing and pictures of her like putting a thumbs up or a peace sign or sticking her tongue out in the hospital bed, like being a total freaking trooper.
I was going to say, I saw like numerous photos of her with her friends while she's still in the hospital. And it's just like, again, this shows the resilience of this woman, like what she went through, and the fact that she can like make a silly face while recovering from 38 fucking stab wounds to her neck, her head, her chest, her hands, all over the place. Again, it just shows how tough she really fucking is.
Truly. And even like they posted that by early July, she was drawing again.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy. So Obsession filmed in October of 2024. They shot for 20 days. So the fact that she was the head of makeup in the makeup department on that movie means that less than 5 months after her attack, she was head of the makeup department on this horror movie. So she was like, had to get right back into work after she healed. Because also it's like, not only again does she have to pay for all these surgeries and medical care, but she has to make a living too and keep herself in the industry and in the workforce. So she also had this pressure of, I have to get back to work, but I also want to get back to work. I love what I do. I want to return to my freaking life that was almost stolen from me. And so she was already back into the swing of things only a few months later.
And
which is insane.
as we're going to mention, she had died twice. She had died twice during these surgeries.
Insane.
And within 5 months, she's back to doing what she does best, horror makeup, which is crazy to me.
It's truly incredible. Nick Pasquale was extradited to Los Angeles, and he remained in jail until the trial was underway over a year and a half later on April 27th, 2026. Now, I want to read you guys Allie's victim impact statement because this is where we get most of the details of what happened to her that night and like what she went through afterwards in her own words. I wish we had a video of this so bad so we can play it so you could actually hear her saying it, but we do have the transcript, and
it is so impactful.
It's so impactful. I mean, it really will show you how remarkable it is that she survived this and that she was able to say all of this, tell Nick what he did.
Yeah, to his little squirrely face.
Yes. Okay, so she says, "When I was lying on the floor in a pool of my own blood, I remember wondering if this was how my life was going to end. In that moment, my mind filled with everything I might never get to experience. Riding my horse Roy again, sitting across from my friends at dinner, becoming a mother one day. I remember feeling grief for a future that was slipping away before I ever had a chance to live it. I was terrified, I was in pain, and I felt very small. You, who I had once trusted, decided that my life was something you could take away. I remember thinking that if I stopped fighting, that would be it. That everything I was and everything I still hoped to be would be gone. So I held on. I wasn't ready to disappear. It was then that I decided to wrap my neck with a belt from a robe to try and slow the bleeding from the 3-millimeter hole you left in my carotid artery. You tried to kill me in my sleep. I was asleep in a place I thought I was safe from you. I was pulled out of a dream to the feeling of confusion and unimaginable pain. My hands were shredded as the blade severed my tendons and my nerves. How dare you try to take my life as soon as I was finally freeing myself from you? That moment was only the beginning. When the paramedics arrived, I felt a small glint of relief. They had me. I did it. I'm still alive. I'm still here. I remember being awake at the hospital when we arrived. It sounded like I was stable, and they were taking me to get an MRI to see how deep my wounds were and if there was any internal bleeding. After the MRI, they attempted to move me from one bed to the next when I started vomiting blood uncontrollably.
God.
I suddenly couldn't breathe and I was choking, expelling the blood they so desperately were trying to keep in my body. In between the desperate gasps for air, I looked up at the nurse inches from my face and I said, "I just want to live." The nurse looked down at me with sympathetic eyes and said, we're trying," as she tried to put a tube down my throat for the 3rd time. I would learn later that I had lost all the blood in my body. I died twice that day. It's only thanks to the incredible surgeon and medical team who refused to give up on me that I survived. When I woke up, I was alone in a cold, dark room. I couldn't move my arms or my head or my neck. I had a tube in my throat and had no voice. All I could do was blink and cry. My thoughts felt foggy, like my mind was underwater. What had happened didn't feel real yet. Time stretched in strange ways. Minutes felt like hours as I lay there staring at a television I didn't understand, waiting for someone to notice me. My hands were throbbing. I remember wondering if my legs had been injured too. I looked down and saw the faint outline of my big toe under the hospital blanket. I focused everything I had on trying to move it. I wasn't thinking about pain. I was thinking about whether I would ever be able to ride my horse again. The nurse finally came in as tears were streaming down the sides of my face. She said not to worry and that I would be okay. I had so many questions, but all I could do was lie there and blink. Fear and helplessness overwhelmed me, even though I was supposed to feel safe. Sometime later, a chaplain came to speak to me using a nonverbal communication board with letters on it. I was able to give him the names of people to contact and then asked one question: will I be able to draw again? He couldn't answer. Dread filled me. Unable to scream or yell my frustrations, I slipped back into sorrow. A few days later, after the breathing tube was finally removed from my throat and I could communicate again, I was surrounded by friends and asked if anyone could possibly address my blood-caked hair. It was matted into a bun on the top of my head, the same as it was the night of the attack. The side of my head was shaved by the doctors so they could get to the gaping wounds you left in my scalp. My friend Kim started the tedious process of trying to rinse the blood-clotted hair with a washcloth in a bowl. Each time she combed my hair, it sent a surge of pain through my head. Eventually, she got the tangled ball of hair down to a single matted chunk. But by that point, I couldn't take the pain anymore and just told her to cut it out. When she did, she noticed another wound underneath the matted mess that the doctors hadn't discovered yet. Upon leaving the hospital, I was finally able to examine the amount of wounds I had. 37. The doctor stopped counting after 20. 37. The injuries I live with are permanent. I have partial blindness. I have nerve damage in my left hand and loss of feeling. I need surgery on my right hand to release a damaged tendon in my thumb. I suffer from first bite syndrome, where the first few bites of every meal send sharp shooting pains throughout the side of my face. I may need muscle paralyzing injections every 3 months for the rest of my life. But the injuries aren't only physical. To this day, I still have nightmares about the attack. For months afterward, I struggled with intense survivor's guilt, asking myself why I lived when so many others did not. I am here today because I survived something that often ends differently. Too many women are murdered by the men who claim to love them and never get the chance to stand where I am standing. Their lives were taken. Their futures ended. Their names are now remembered in court records instead of birthday celebrations. I don't know why I'm still here, but I feel a responsibility to live in a way that honors those women. To speak when they no longer can. To remind the court that this violence follows a pattern and that the outcome I survived is not the common one. I am not here out of anger. I am here because my life has value, because what happened to me matters, and because I am still trying every day to reclaim the life that was almost taken from me. My scars are a reminder to myself and anyone who sees me that evil does exist in this world. And at least this one time, someone survived. I only hope my story can help others get out sooner than me, because no one deserves to ever live through the dark shadow that you cast on my life. I've come to realize that you've never taken accountability for the effect you've had on my life. But for every day since you last abused me, I've asked myself, why? Why, when I was only kind to you, when I was gentle and loving, even when you screamed at me, why would you do this to me? You've created scars that I'll live with for the rest of my life. Not just physical, but emotional. As if the lifelong health concerns that I face because of the injuries I sustained by you weren't enough. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about the trauma that I lived through because I chose to love you. An evil, broken coward.
Such a coward, that guy.
My scars, both physical and emotional, are a reminder that I survived you. I escaped your cruel grasp. A reminder that you can never control me again. And for that, I will wear them as a badge of honor.
I mean, my heart just like, it makes my heart like shudder when the fact that she's talking about these other women that didn't make it, and that's her concern. I think, again, she's just an incredible person, and I'm amazed at her words.
I mean, like, that's the most incredible speech I've ever heard. I honestly had a hard time getting through that without crying. Like, that was unbelievable. She hit every nail on the head. Mm-hmm. It really showed how emotional her experience was, how she lives today, what she went through, mm-hmm. everything that she still deals with now. And the fact that he got to hear all of that, even though I know it doesn't really matter because he's such a piece of shit, he probably still doesn't care, as we're about to get into.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about how he really doesn't care.
Like, bravo to her. That was incredible. So on May 8th, 2026, Nick was found guilty for attempted murder, forcible rape, first-degree residential burglary with a person present, and injuring an intimate partner. 3 days after he was convicted of trying to murder her, Allie celebrated her latest work in the horror movie Obsession at the film's LA premiere on May 11th, 2026, showing off her scars, wearing them just like the badge of honor that she described.
Let's go, girl.
Let's fucking go, girl.
Awesome.
So incredible.
Awesome. Well, on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026, 36-year-old Nick Pasquale was sentenced to 32 years to life in prison. I mean, 32 years. Throw away that fucking key.
Well, really, the judge said life, so it's like, I think it's technically 30. He's not getting out.
No, there's no way he's getting out.
They're throwing away the key.
Well, during his sentencing, Nick made a statement, and although we don't want to give this piece of shit the spotlight, he says something that is relevant to what the judge responds with. So here is what he said.
I can't believe this happened to her. and I'm so sorry that it did. This is a burden that I will carry for the rest of my life, as I am filled with deep remorse. A remorse matched only by the gratitude I have that she's still alive. I thank God every day that Allie still has the opportunity to share her creative life with the world. I remain deeply saddened by everything surrounding this case, and I continue to wish healing and peace for everyone affected. I'm grateful to those who have supported me during this process, and I intend to remain focused on sobriety, recovery, and accountability.
I remain deeply saddened by everything surrounding this case, and I continue to wish healing and peace for everyone affected. Fuck you. Like, oh my God.
Fucking loser. And such a loser, this guy.
It felt, even though he did say her name, it felt so indirect. I'm so sorry to everybody that I affected.
That's the most like what did you type in, your response to fucking Chat GPT? That sounded like literally it was just an automated response.
Yes, there was no meaning behind that whatsoever.
No emotion, no remorse, nothing. But what's really awesome here is that the judge did something amazing.
Oh, yeah.
He said exactly what all of us want to say to Nick, stating, quote, "To call you a human being is an insult to humanity." And here's an audio clip of that moment.
To call you a human being is an insult to humanity. You are a hedonistic narcissist who only cared about himself. The court imposes the term prescribed by law, which is life in state prison.
He also added, quote, "You stated that you feel remorse for what occurred, but my response to you is, if that's true, then why on April 29th during that phone call with your friend did you mock Allie Shehorn for what she went through?"
Disgusting.
Just the worst of the worst.
That says it all.
Because, 2 days after the trial was underway, a recorded phone conversation that Nick had with a friend proved that he showed no remorse for what he did to Allie, as he callously spoke of her plight. Like, he is not rehabilitated in any sort of way. He does not feel saddened by the case. It seems that the only reason why he's sad is because he got caught.
Truly. I mean, even after 2 years in custody, because we have to really think about this. He attacked her on May 18th. She filed a restraining order. He was arrested. He bonded out. He's free. And what does he do right after? He goes to her house. That, yes, used to be his house. But he goes to her house with a knife and stabs her over 30 times. And then he flees to Texas to try to get into Mexico. So this was full of intent. He went there to kill her. All of this had such purpose. He knew what he was doing. It wasn't in the heat of the moment. This was first degree, premeditated murder. And then he was just going to go live his life in Mexico? What was he thinking? He thought, just like he could in their relationship, that he could control her now and control where her life goes by taking it away. And then you're just going to live in Mexico, fly under the radar for the rest of your life and hide because you couldn't have it your way?
And I think the best part about this whole scenario is that he didn't win. He didn't succeed.
Thank God.
So it's like he probably knew, there was probably some portion of his mind that knew that if he did kill Allie and he was somehow able to make it to Mexico, he was probably going to get caught and was probably going to go to prison, right? I mean, he probably knew that.
Of course, that's why he fled.
Exactly. But on top of that, the fact that he didn't succeed, it's like, not only are you still going to prison, but she's still alive.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And you did not succeed in what you were trying to do. Understandably, Allie has not yet done any interviews since her attempted murderer was convicted, as she's very busy with work on new projects and continuing to focus on her healing journey. But after the sentencing, she did speak publicly, though very brief, and here's what she said regarding abusive relationships. We want to play you guys that clip.
Never too late to get out.
Now, this video came from the organization End Violence Everywhere, who have been instrumental in their help to Allie. Because for those who don't know, End Violence Everywhere is a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting survivors of intimate partner violence, sexual assault, as well as family violence. Founded by survivor and advocate Kate Alexander, they work to connect survivors with resources including legal advocacy, safe housing, trauma-informed care, and other wraparound services while still advocating for systemic reforms to better protect victims and their families. Now, we don't have video for this portion, but Allie also said, quote, "No one should ever have to endure the violence I experienced. Coming forward has been one of the most difficult decisions of my life, but I hope by speaking out, I can help others feel less alone. Survivors deserve support, safety, and the chance to heal without fear or shame." So here's a clip from an interview that she did with Midnight Movie Trash at the Horrific Women Film Festival that took place back in September of 2025. So she's speaking about the work that she does. So here's that clip.
I'm here with
Allie Shehorn.
Allie. Good to see you again. Do you have any projects, anything going on you can talk about?
Yes, I have a movie that I did special effects on that will have its theatrical release called Obsession. It got into Toronto International Film Festival.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about the film?
It's about a wish gone bad and see what happens if you try and wish for your love.
Allie is still doing amazing work to this day and is an incredible example of resilience, perseverance, and the strength that it takes to rebuild a life under unimaginable trauma. Even with her line of work, like, she is still making wounds and scars for other people. Like, she's still doing it and exploring this passion despite her own very personal experiences with the real thing. You know, because her work and her Instagram, if you go, it's at Allie Shehorn Art. Mm-hmm. Everybody should follow her. You know, her page is covered with actually one of her posts is somebody, like an actress's neck, who she had to do a slash neck on.
Like a wound, yeah.
But as you guys will see in photos of Allie, she had her neck slashed, and the scar is really long across her neck. So it's just wild to me that she is doing that fake, you know, on other people.
Listen, you can't be scared of horror movies if you lived the real life thing, and she did with Nick.
Yeah, it does seem like she's like, yeah, this doesn't scare me because I actually experienced this. So I just think that's so cool that she's still doing it, and she's still exploring her passions with the bloody, gory stuff, like she said.
I love it.
If you or someone you know is affected by domestic violence, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or chat at thehotline.org. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode of Going West.
Yes, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. If you want to see photos of Allie after her recovery, being the badass woman that she is, head on over to our socials. We're on Instagram at Going West Podcast. We're also on TikTok as well as Facebook. I mean, again, I can't believe the resilience of Allie. The fact that she went through she died twice. She lost all the blood in her body.
I want to hug her.
And somehow she made it. She survived. She's still here with us today.
She is so incredible. I love her passion for her work, and just how, you know, when you see photos of her and videos of her, as we played for you guys and showed you if you're watching over on YouTube, like, you could just see the light in her. She's such a badass. So I am so happy that she survived this, but I know this really isn't over for her. She is going to live with this for the rest of her life. Like she said, you know, she has nightmares from the trauma. She thinks about this every single day. She's dealing with the repercussions of something that was done to her and to her body every single day. But she's doing freaking amazing. So follow her on Instagram, follow along with her journey.
Yes, make sure that you follow her. I also want to say real quick that, you know, there are a lot of women out there that are going through similar experiences with domestic violence. So just one more time, I want to put the number out there because I feel like it's very important. So the National Domestic Violence Hotline, you can reach it at 1-800-799-7233. If you're going through a situation like this, just remember that there is a way out, that there are people here to help you.
You are not alone.
You are not alone.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you again on Tuesday.
All right, guys. So for everybody out there in the world,
don't be a stranger.